Welcome to FCBD Faces, episode 11. This time with Kelly Beeston. If you like this upcoming video, please consider doing all the YouTube thingies and help our channel grow. Thank you so much.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly had I sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now to still the beating of my heart I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more."
Got it.
Hello and welcome to our next interview series. My name is Julia Stoiber and I run Anam Damhsa in Austria. And today we are really thrilled to welcome the amazing Kelly Beeston from the UK. Hi Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you. I would love to know, as always, the first thing that we ask everybody, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get into the dance? Give us a little bit of your story. How did you get into that chant style?
Okay, so my very first introduction to belly dance was when I was 16, because my mother was a keep fit teacher. So if you don't know what keep fit is, it's like doing exercise in a choreography to music. And she used to run further education classes for the local council. And of course, in the summer, they would break up for 6 weeks, school holidays. And one of her students was American. And she just said to my mum, "How about I do a 6-week belly dance course?" Because when I was in America, I did belly dance. And my mum said, "Yeah, that would be great." Came home and she said to me, "Do you want to come?" So I thought, "Oh, yes." So I hadn't a clue what it was about, wasn't very good at it. We were just sort of wiggling around and trying to learn how to shimmy and what have you. Really enjoyed that 6 weeks. And then I never heard of belly dance again for decades. And when my daughter was 16, then I was getting fed up with going to the gym and I was looking for a dance class. She was heavily into salsa at the time. So she said, "Why don't you come to my salsa classes?" So I did, and I was having a lot of back issues, having treatments and, sort of physios and what have you. And as soon as I put the heels on and started dancing, I thought, oh no, this is not going to do my back any good at all. So she then wanted to get into reggaeton, which is like, I'm not 100% sure what it is, but you need to learn how to isolate and pop. But it's a sort of salsa derivative, I think. So she discovered this belly dance class locally and she said, "Do you want to come with me?" So I said, "Yeah, I do." So off we went. I stayed and she left. And I suddenly started to notice that my back issues were improving. And I thought, so it's this core stability thing. So, for years when I'd been saying to the physio, surely there's some exercises I can do to strengthen my back and what have you. Oh no, just keep coming back from paying for more treatments. Took up belly dancing and touch wood, I've not had any back issues since. So if you've got a bad back, keep belly dancing. It's really good for you. So while I was at that class, I also joined another class. So that class was, I'm not sure what style it was. The teacher was a bit wacky, and she sort of did a Suhaila Salimpur workout to start off with. But then she would get us to stand up and say, now dance. And I was thinking, yes, but I don't know what to do. And then we'd have this closing ceremony where we had to tell each other, hug each other and tell ourselves that we were goddesses and that we loved each other and that we were beautiful on the inside and beautiful on the outside. And I used to feel like such a real prat that, you know, and then after a while, I began to think, I am beautiful on the inside. I am beautiful on the outside. I could be a goddess. And it was all this sort of reinforcement of having lost myself as a stay-at-home mum, if you like, and then discovering things that were making me think about, oh, well, who's Kelley again? So that was the start of it. And then she got a tribal fusion dancer in from the States to do a workshop called Geneva Bybee, and I think she's going to be at Tribal Roma this year. So it's interesting to because I had no idea who she was. Anyway, she came in, she did this workshop, and she started talking about tribal and the posture and these arms and these secret messages that the dancers use to talk to each other. And I was just totally intrigued. And at the end, she had all her merchandise up for sale. So I went over and I really liked the music she was playing. So I bought a music CD and I bought a DVD, which was Tribal Basics Volume 1, Fat Chance Belly Dance. Got it home, put it on, and I just thought, wow, this is what I want to be doing. There was just instant recognition, if you like. Something about it just got straight into my heart, straight into my bones. It was just, oh my goodness, this is me. At the same time as doing all that, I was also going to a folkloric class with a girl called Shema. And sadly, both my teachers decided to pack up and go off somewhere else. So my Suhaila type teacher went off to the States and she's still there. And Shema went off to Egypt to live with the Bedouin for a year, maybe a bit longer, and study the dance from the roots, ground up, literally, with the people, travelling around with them. So she's back in this country at the moment and doing stuff locally. But yeah, so I got home with this DVD, started teaching myself. And when both teachers suddenly went off, I was thinking, oh, so what do I do now? So I contacted the girls that I'd been going to class with and said, does anybody want to come round to my house and have a look at what I've been teaching myself? And so a few of them did. And they said, oh, quite like this. So I literally started teaching within 6 months of having bought that DVD. And what I would do is I would learn the steps, and then a few weeks later, I would show them what it was. And after a while, I was thinking, you know, I really ought to see if there's any sort of formal training in this. And so off I went to the States, to the mothership. And that is how I got into this style of dance.
That's really awesome. And it also brings us nicely into our next question.
Well,
yeah. Your first time in the studio and meeting Carolina. I know the story, obviously. I'm lucky enough to have heard this, but I would love if you could share this story because it's so cool.
Yeah, okay. So I booked myself in for General Skills in 2008 in San Francisco. And at that time, it was really lucky because there were only like 20 people on the course. So you got a really, really close sense of what was going on with Carolina directly. Anyway, I decided, because I needed to attune to the time shift and everything, that I would have an extra week or 2 weeks, I think it was, before General Skills actually started. So I went to all the classes. And that was just amazing to actually walk into the classroom and see this dance in real life, because I'd never seen it in real life. I'd only seen it on Volume 1 or what I'd seen on YouTube. And the impression I got, the thing that hit me most was the energy. The energy in the room was just phenomenal. Anyway, it got to general skills, and we were having a coffee break, and I was queuing to go into the loo. And so I stood there, not realising that Carolina was actually in the loo. And of course she came out, and I was thinking, oh, I got all flustered, and oh, it's Carolina, you know. And there was this woman who I was just, you know, idolising. And I don't know about you, but you have those fangirl moments where you feel as though you need to say something, and then you just think, oh God, did I really say that? It's that stupid moment where afterwards you
carry the watermelon moment. Yeah,
I said to her, oh, Carolina, your skirts are always so long. Don't you ever fall over them? And she just looked at me. And she, no. I thought, oh, and I just went, oh. And then I was thinking, oh, what I said to her, you know. But the fact of the matter was, if you look at Carolina's skirts, they are always in a big puddle round the floor, you know, a few inches, and she never trips over them. So what I didn't know about Carolina at that point was that she doesn't necessarily answer your question right there and then if she's got something in her mind where it's going to come up later on. So the next day she said, I was coming out of the toilet yesterday when somebody asked me if I ever tripped over my skirts, and I'm thinking, oh no. And I thought she was going to say that. She said, well, I'd like to tell you a story. And so she went into why she wears her skirts so long. And so for anybody out there, go and check the length of your skirts, because for a start, we should always be wearing them below our belly button. So I often see people wearing them on their waistline instead of below the belly button line. So that can help with the length for starters. So if you're wearing it too high, shift it down. But what she likes to see, or what she doesn't like to see, is feet. So when you're on the stage, even when we come up onto the balls of our feet, to have the skirt connected to the stage floor gives you a very long, elegant line. Mm-hmm. And how many times do you hear Carolina say, does it look beautiful? You know, she wants to show off the feminine form in the most beautiful way possible. She's into fashion and all of that. So she's always constantly looking at what looks beautiful, what looks elegant, what shows us off to the best. And having a gap between the stage floor and your ankles with your feet sticking out is not elegant. So if when you come up on the balls of your feet, you still need a few inches of skirt to be able to, you know, raise yourself up, and the skirt is still in contact with the floor, and it gives you that long, elegant line. And I just loved that story, because I thought, actually, it's so true. If you look in videos and you okay, when you spin and what have you, yes, you will see the feet, but look at the difference next time you're looking at a troupe on stage, especially when they're dancing slow. If their skirts are nice and long, how beautiful and elegant that looks, as opposed to feet sticking out, you know? So lengthen your skirts, and if you're going to lengthen your skirts, add a layer to the top, not the bottom, because it takes less material and less work.
I'm already thinking of past situations and performances where I'm like, no, it wasn't long enough. Oh God, yeah. Oh God. Like my brain's already, yeah.
But the thing is, you know, and I reset it. Well, how do you not trip over them? So she said, well, it actually makes her more aware of how she's dancing and where she's putting her feet. So she has to make sure that she pushes the skirt away from her as she's dancing, so that she doesn't tread on it. So that's another, it's sort of like mindfulness when you're dancing.
There's so much more to this dance than just steps.
Oh yeah. Isn't that the beauty of it all? I mean, I just
model that and put it on a poster. This is what Fat Chance is. I think every woman would be doing it. You know, like it's really difficult to get what that je ne sais quoi is out. Like you can't put it on a poster.
Yeah.
Like really, yeah. You know what I mean?
I do.
All these like memories that you have of the studio, San Francisco, I mean, they're awesome. Like, can you tell us some more? Like, what other memories do you have, like favorite things?
Well, so if you ask most people what their background is in this dance style, many people will say, oh, I had to learn from the DVDs. And I've used to say, and I still do say the same, I had to learn from the DVDs because I didn't have a teacher nearby. And I think people have often felt isolated because there are no teachers nearby, or, you know, there is one, but they're 3 hours drive away and so on. And I think a lot of people don't realise that most of us are in the same boat. And it was that started me off on how do I connect with my community? There are people out there that dance. How do I connect with them? And so some of my favourite and treasured memories have been when I've been able to make those connections. Because what this dance does, it's not just about dancing. I mean, I am an absolute introvert. I love going out and being with people for that event or that short period of time, but then I have to come home and hole up and recharge and what have you. But for the times when I do go out and connect, it's empowering and it's wonderful, and I just love meeting other like-minded people that are involved in this dance. So yeah, most of my memories are treasured connections with people, and that's why I started my Oasis. Somebody once said that we were like a bit of a desert because there was no Fat Chance teachers in the area. And I thought, Oasis, let's have an Oasis where people can come. So I just put out a plea to everybody and anybody and said, if you want to come, we'll just dance together. We'll just have 3 hours of let's get together, put some music on, and we'll dance. And so I actually had about 30 people from around the southwest of England turn up to the first Oasis in 2007. And it soon became apparent that they were expecting me to do something. And I was thinking, oh, so secretly, because I knew that there was this girl called Jackie Spears who lives about 70, 80 miles away. She was at Sister Studio. And I was thinking, if she could come, maybe she could show us what this is all about, you know? Anyway, Jackie and I ended up being in the troupe together and very good friends and what have you. But no, she didn't. She's very laid back and what have you. So I ended up yet again teaching. This was my first workshop, 30 people that had turned up, where I had nothing planned, nothing, you know, it was just, let's get together and do something. And so that developed. It developed into proper workshops and what have you.
Yes.
And through that, I thought, oh gosh, I better go and do my teacher training now. So that's how that started. But other memories are, because of those connections and getting together, we've done some fun things. Like, I don't know if you've seen our spoof video.
Of course, tell us. Of course, I've seen it many times. How did it happen? Okay, explain it.
Yeah, okay. So Carolina, outside the studio on Sundays, I think it was, they used to have these guys driving these sort of open top cars, and they called them lowriders. And I'm not sure why, but I think it's because they're sort of like low down to the road or what have you. And they would have like ghetto blasters playing in the cars, blasting out the music. And she said on Sunday mornings, they would go past the studio, almost like, you know, a convoy of these cars would go past with these guys sort of being really cool, you know, elbow on the side of the thing, music blasting, one hand on the steering wheel, sort of coming along like this. And she decided to make this video, and so she hired one of these cars, these red open top cars, and they went off to a place called Treasure Island, which is just outside of San Francisco, and they filmed this little film with the San Francisco Bay in the background, and you've got all the girls there in their Banjara costumes, the wind's blowing, these veils and what have you. And I have a red Land Rover. So we thought, wouldn't it be funny to, instead of doing Lowrider, we'd do a spoof called Slow Rider. So we
such a Brit. Such a Brit, it's amazing.
So I got the people that came to my Oasis workshops and said, and my troupe, and said, do you fancy being part of this? And oh yes. So off we went to Wimbleball Lake up the road, because it was the only bit of water that vaguely resembled. And my son is a film editor, so we shot all these scenes, and he put together the exact same video, but with us, with our Land Rover. And we have a little video with Fat Chance up in the corner, the real ones, doing their lowrider, and us doing our little spoof. But it was just such a fun day. I actually have a load of outtakes of that, and one day I should put it together again, because it's out out in the field where we're dancing with the sheep and, you know, what have you, and we're dancing to what's the name? The Wurzels. I've got a brand new combine harvester, which is...
Sorry, for anyone that's not British watching this is a very... It's kind of like a bunch of farmers came together and are singing in really strong accent, like accent. I love them. I've got one of their old cassettes.
Well,
amazing.
For those that are old enough, they do a spoof of Melanie's song Brand New Key, and they call it Brand New Combine. I've got a brand new combine harvester.
I'll give you the key.
So we did a second lot, but we've never put it together. So maybe one day we'll edit that into something.
I'm identifying with this so hard right now. Ask my husband, like, yeah, Wurzels rock. They're really fun. Blackbird Abbey. I don't know how we're going to put that into the subtitles.
was just going to pop my glasses on for a moment. So I was going to think, oh yeah, other memories that I've treasured are when I've been given the opportunity to dance with other people. So collaborations, or when we went to homecoming and ATS reunion. I've been to every single one and had the opportunity to dance with somebody on the stage there, and that is terrifying. But I tell you, it's the best audience ever, because they are just so supportive. Unlike us Brits who sit and watch a performance and then politely clap at the end. I always feel really sorry for teachers coming from the States to the UK and having to perform while we all sit there very straight-faced. And what they don't realise is we're thoroughly enjoying ourselves, and then at the end we just politely clap. We might cheer. Whereas in the States, whereas you go along to a thing in the States, and everybody's cheering you on right from the beginning, and so you feel really supported. It's a lovely atmosphere. So I've had opportunities there to dance with people that I've met through workshops and teaching and training and what have you, like Deanna and Liz, of course, and Kathy Starr.
Kathy, yeah, I was just about to say that.
And one of my very first teachers in the UK was Dina Lawman. She used to assist another girl Sarah, I can't remember her surname, and I went to a few of their workshops in the early days, and then got to dance with Dina, and that was lovely. It's just, yeah. So I have lots and lots of really good memories. I could go on for the rest of this interview. I know you've got other questions.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about your troops, and I started to ask you about Kalash, and obviously then I said, oh yeah, and Panacea, and then you were like, oh yeah, and Oasis Tribal and Troop Britannia, and I'm like, good grief, okay, where do we start?
Well, we start with the first one.
Yeah,
Kalash.
give us a brief sort of description and what came together, or how they came together.
Well, I've already sort of said how they came together, in that it was people that I invited to come and see what I was doing at home, learning from DVD Volume 1.
This Kalash or Oasis?
So that group of people, there were only, 6 or 7 of us? That group of people grew into Kalash. So that's how it started. And then people came and went according to what was happening in their lives and what have you. And I think at our biggest point we had 9, and we're now down to 7. And again,
that's not big for a troop.
Yeah, but we have not done. We had one live performance last year, and our last performance together, proper. Was pre-pandemic, literally just a few days before the pandemic at Majma. And a lot of our events have stopped now. So, it's weird that the pandemic has sort of put a lot of things on hold, and it hasn't kick-started again. So
yeah, I'll be asking you about the future and how you see it a little bit later on. Okay. So that would be just.
Yeah. So that was how Kalash started. It was out of a need to have people to dance with, because that's what this dance style is about. And then when I started getting Oasis together, then we have Oasis Tribal.
Okay.
So anybody who comes to Oasis, sometimes we have opportunities to go and link it to an event. So somebody might be having a hafla on the same day as I've got a workshop. So we'll do a workshop in the afternoon, and then everybody goes off to the hafla. And I think there was one occasion when the maximum number of people you ever want in a chorus line, if it's really going to succeed, is probably 10 to 12. But when you've got a workshop in the afternoon and a hafler in the evening and everybody wants to be involved, we actually had 27 people in the chorus.
I'm glad I didn't have a mouthful of tea then.
Unfortunately, it was a big room. But it was just such fun to have everybody working together and dancing together. So Oasis Tribal is really, on the days when I have my Oasis workshops, if there is an event we can link to, we will go off and perform together. So we've done street things, we've done hafler things. So it's just, again, it's about bringing people together and dancing together is
I
what
joined you once online for it.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
You do hybrid, don't you? Now?
No. I've had a couple of online classes where some of my troupe have come and joined me in the barn. And to be honest, I find it difficult because when you're teaching online, you can concentrate on the people on the screen. If you're teaching live in a class, you can concentrate on the people that are live in the class. But when you've got both, you're having to think of different ways of approaching both things. And personally, I felt that those people who had supported me right the way through the pandemic by coming to classes deserved me to continue to be 100% there for them. Yep. And, it was sad because, and I'm sure a lot of people will identify with this is a group dance. We need people to dance with. And for that reason, many, many people couldn't cope with online classes because they lost that connection. They lost that energy of being with people. So I totally get why some people just said, you know what, I've tried it, but it's not working for me. And then you've got other people who have embraced the online facility, who have said, oh goodness, this is a lifeline for me. I'm on my own at home. I can't get out. To have the connection with people, even if it is on screen, is really, really valuable and important to me.
I fall into that category. Like, that's why I ended up joining Oasis that time and asking you for, booking a private lesson with you. Like, it is a lifeline for somebody who's already isolated.
Exactly.
With dance. And for me, the tech that came out, and the technology, over the pandemic was amazing. I was suddenly connected to a whole bunch of dancers and teachers that I wouldn't have been able to, have access to before.
Yeah. And we have to accept that it is a different type of learning. It requires a different style of teaching. And we're not going to be able to recreate what it's like in real life. But I think I've come up with a few things that we do in class where, initially I was thinking, how can we get people to dance in duets? And then I cracked it. And
it's on FCBDU. Dana will kill me if I don't put that in there. Go and...
But, I had teachers join my classes to see how I was teaching. I know they were, because next thing I knew, they were doing the same. So great, absolutely great, because it means that we were able to keep people involved and keep classes going. And oh no, you'll ask me that later.
Okay, I'm going to move it on a little bit. Going on, you've got Oasis, but you also have another amazing festival, which I was lucky enough to come to for the first time last year, Serendipity. And you've already mentioned Jackie as well.
Yes.
It's just a really nice segue.
So Serendipity came out of Oasis. So one thing always leads to another, doesn't it? So Jackie and I had been talking, there are a couple of events in this country, but we have lost some events as well. And because I was running like quarterly or bi-monthly, sometimes Oasis workshops, we thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had a weekend event? And in order not to be in competition with the other two events that are very similar to ours, I wanted to be able to offer FCCE hours for those people who'd signed up for them. Because if you have signed up for your FCCE, if you don't know what that is, it's Fat Chance Continuing Education Programme. And I think it will restart, but because of the pandemic, it has been put on hold for a while. But if you get an opportunity to study with an FCCE teacher and do a workshop that you can still collect your hours. So if you need any, just let me know and I can give you the certificates for the hours that you've done, and that will count towards your next thing. But you need to do 10 hours of FCCE training, 9 of which can be with any FCCE teacher and 1 has to be with Carolina. So Serendipity started so that I could offer 9 hours all in one go. Because for dancers in Europe, it was difficult to get your 9 hours because where were the workshops offering those hours? So it meant that my dance community grew even more and started to include certified studios from Europe. So as you saw this last year, then we get people from, well, over the 5 years we've been doing it now, we've had people from France, Portugal, Italy, Austria now, Germany, Poland, Russia, Italy. Did I say Italy? Yeah. And it's wonderful because it also shows dancers in the UK that it's a bigger community.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that as well. So online has done that, but Serendipity has done that as well. And that, so the event happens every year, usually Halloween weekend.
At the most amazing location ever.
So we call it the Hogwarts of ATS, or that's how it started, because it's a private boarding school and it does look like Hogwarts, especially when you walk through that main corridor with the but yeah, it's a boarding school, so you get to be a school child really for the weekend, but it's got beautiful grounds, the food is really good, and we keep it small and we keep it cheap. So it is a bargain because it includes all your accommodation, all your food, all your workshops, and we try and offer a selection of workshops. So we have drumming, which is great if you want to learn a bit more about rhythms and what happened.
He came last year. He's awesome.
Yeah. And we usually do a couple of craft workshops that are somehow related to our dance. So over the years, we've had things like making your own, the mirrors on the Banjara costumes. How do you stitch those shisha mirrors onto something, or how to make a beaded medallion, or how to dye something. This year, because the theme was Frida Kahlo meets Frankenstein, we had 2 workshops related to Mexican art and what have you. But again, you can incorporate these things into your costume or whatever. Then we usually try and have a workshop that has something to do with the roots of our dance. So this year we had Mercedes come in and do a flamenco workshop with us. And then we have local teachers from the UK that come in and do whatever their thing is. So there seems to be quite a big movement at the moment in frame drum. So we had Angela Noble come in. She's been working with frame drum for a number of years. So she taught, last year she taught slow frame drum. This year she taught fast frame drum. And we were lucky because we had a very special visitor from the States who came and did Sword, Melody Bastillos. So, fantastic to... I don't know what it is about Serendipity, but people just have heard about it and think, I'd like to go. So if you've got a feeling that you'd like to go, come, because it's not any old event, it's a family event. And a lot of people say, I don't come because of the teachers or the workshops. I come because of the people that come. I come for the community, the family. So I hope you got a sense of that sort of belonging or connection. But
that's enough for me to drive 2 days across Europe to get there.
Yeah. So
if that doesn't advertise it, it was so worth it. It's amazing.
No, it is. It's good. We're just at the moment starting to put things together. So I will be updating my website with information, or we do have a Facebook group that if you want to come and join, just ask us and we'll let you in. And that
we'll pop the link down below for you. Like Tina will pop all the links in.
It's just got the information about last year and there's some photos, and I need to put some videos up. But over the next few months, this year's stuff will go up.
So something else really special that you organise is the Sister to Sister project. Yeah. How can we as dancers get involved and help? And basically, can you explain to those who don't know what it is?
So
what can you do?
Sister to Sister is 2 projects based in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it started when my husband went out there. He wanted to set up a charity that would help people set up sustainable businesses, and it's evolved over the years. And I would accompany him on some of the trips, and it became very apparent that as soon as the men left the room, the women would come and start asking me questions, and it was difficult because I didn't speak Lingala or Swahili, and they didn't speak French or English, so I had to go through an interpreter. And they would ask me questions like, how many children do you have? And I'd say 3. And then they would look at me and say, but how have you only got 3 children? Mm-hmm. And I suddenly cottoned on that what they were actually asking me about was contraception. Mm-hmm. So there had been some work done by a charity where they'd done a contraception information and advice education program with a lot of the people, and they had 3,000 families sign up for, yes, I would like contraception. But that was it, because they can't afford anything. Most of those families are living on less than $1 a day. And a lot of charities go in and do work, they tick the boxes, and then they leave. Mm-hmm. And then nothing else happens. So I just thought, this is stupid. There's all these people saying, yes, please, I would love contraception, but I can't possibly afford to buy it. So I thought, well, how much does it cost? And it costs less than a cup of Costa coffee to buy the injected implants. So the woman gets the choice of a 3-year or a 5-year implant, and because we're now able to buy in bulk, we've got the price down to 1 cup of coffee, basically. So it's about $7, between $5 and $7 for an implant. And so I thought, well, how do we do this? And then I thought, gosh, if every dancer sponsored just one woman, we could cover those 3,000 altogether. So my ambition was to do 1,000 women. And we're now, I'm trying to think how long it's been going now, 7 years or so. We've completed just over 4,000 now. The other project was, I don't know if people are aware of the history of Congo, but it's been raped and pillaged forever. And if it wasn't for rubber, or the Chinese are now going in and trying to extract all the minerals. I mean, it's the richest country on the planet when it comes to minerals, and yet it's the poorest country on a lot of the human indexes. And over the years, it's been exploited for rubber and goodness knows what, slave trade, you name it. There's always been something being trafficked out. And then there was the genocide, and a lot of the rebels were pushed out of Rwanda and into Congo. And there's been a lot of unrest over the years. I mean, in the area that we're working in, there are, 50 or more military rebel groups. And a lot of the women, as a result, have been raped or tortured. And when I was traveling around, again, when the men had gone and I started hearing the stories of what had happened to these women, it's unbelievable. You could not imagine in your worst nightmares what a man can dream up and do to a woman. It's just, it would give you nightmares. And so I was hearing these stories, and yet again, another charity had gone in and was training men and women in basic skills. So it could be electrician, plumbing, car mechanics, hairdressing, sewing, whatever. So we came across a group of women who had been taught how to sew, but they had no sewing machines. So you think, well, how on earth are they going to ever save up enough money to go out and buy a sewing machine? And even if they did, as soon as they need some money, they'll sell the sewing machine to pay for medical bills or child's education or food or shelter or whatever. So I thought, what if our community could raise money and open a workshop that's kitted out with sewing machines and all the stuff that they would need? And then the women, when they've got time, because they have to look after family, they have to grow crops, they have to go to market, when they have time, they could book themselves in for a few hours or whatever and make things and earn some more money, but they don't have the outlay of the equipment. Mm-hmm. So I approached Carolina, and she just said, oh my goodness, the two things in my life, contraception and sewing, have been so important to me. I really, really want to support this. So through her business manager, she put together a program where we could fundraise, and we raised $15,000, set up the workshop. We've had to move it a couple of times because of the insecurities, and we've had a few break-ins, and it's not the safest place on the planet. But we started out making pantaloons with the idea of bringing them back to the UK and selling them. Well, that was a disaster, because I gave them all a sewing lesson on how to make pantaloons, gave them the material from another project, which was hand dyeing all this fabric. And my husband went out the next time, came back with this rucksack full of pantaloons, and I opened them and I took one look at them and thought, oh no, what have they done? And this is Congolese mentality for you. I had been saying, right, minimum of 3 meters of fabric for each pair. And they thought, very sensibly, I suppose, but we could get 2 pairs out of 3 meters. So I ended up with these skinny things. I'm thinking, no, that's not what I wanted at all. So that wasn't going to work. And it was difficult to get them in and out of the country because there's no postal service or anything. So in the end, we thought what we need is something that the women or the men need in that country. And that's when we came up with disposable, washable sanitary towels, because so many of the women have nothing.
Mhm.
They use old bits of rag, they use dried dung, they use leaves, whatever they can. And it means that very often the women either miss going to market, so they lose the opportunity to sell, or the younger girls miss going to school. So once a month, life doesn't happen because they can't leave the house. So we thought, oh goodness, if we could just supply washable sanitary towels, that would make a difference. So that's what the sewing project is now doing. It did stop making towels for a while because the government said anybody who's got sewing machines should be making masks. So they did do that for a while, but we're now back into production of the sanitary towels, and we're looking at ways of packaging them, because it's a pretty dusty country, and if you've got them lying around on a market stall or in a chemist shop or something, so we need to get some packaging sorted out that also visually explains what the product is, because women don't know what the product is and a lot of them can't read.
Mhm.
So that's our challenge at the moment, is how do we get these things out in a way that is hygienic and understandable.
That's amazing. Really inspirational to hear it.
So if anybody wants to support us,
Yeah, how can we help?
anything where you can raise money. So, if you're holding a hafla, if you're having a raffle, if you're doing a sponsored walk, if you want to organise an event, just anything where you think, I'd like to contribute to that. Or even if you just say, I'll give up 1 cup of coffee a week and do a monthly donation or whatever it is.
For
It can
those
be.
of us that can't organise something, like for example in Austria, it's not so easy to organise an event like that. Can we donate directly?
You can do it as an individual. So you can do it through my website.
Mhm.
There's a page that tells you a bit more about the Sister to Sister projects.
So I'll get Tina to pop all the links
Yeah.
for everybody, then they should go and check it out.
There's also a link.
Do go and check it out, everybody watching this, that would be really great.
Yeah. There's also a link on Carolina's website. So I think you might have to go hunting down at the bottom in the what do they call it, site plan or whatever it is. But yeah, there's a sister to sister link there as well.
If you're watching this, we'll pop all the links down below for everybody, and just go and click on it and do what you can, like sister to sister, and we're all about sisterhood in Fat Chance, aren't we? So
while I'm here, I'm not good at publicity and promotion and what have you. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported it, and just know that it is ongoing. I don't spend a lot of time writing stuff to shove out there, because I'm always doing other things, trying to keep the projects going and stuff. So just know that any support that you can give is really, really gratefully received, not by me, but by the women that are out there. I mean, they are just, it's wonderful when I go, because they all have their Sunday best outfit, which is very colourful. And if they know I'm coming, especially on the island of Ijoe, I'll arrive on a boat, and they're all standing at the harbour front, and it's tiny, really, really tiny, and they'll all be dressed in their best outfits, their church outfits, and they'll have a couple of lads drumming, and they'll dance for me. and they'll sing for me, and it's this welcome, and I end up in I could cry now.
You.
Tears every time they do it, you know. I just, oh goodness. And it's really their way of saying thank you and a mark of respect, because so many people say they'll do something and then don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that second time when I went back, they didn't really believe, you mean you really have come back and you've brought us something, you've brought us some help. And yeah, so there's a few little videos attached to my sister to sister pages on my website. So if you've got a few minutes, one of them explains how it started with the fishing net. They're worth watching. And there's some little interviews with the women themselves. So when you hear it from their mouths, what it means to, you know, when you've got a 32-year-old woman who's got 9 children, and you think, oh my goodness, how many more productive years have you got? How many more children does that mean you could potentially have? And people often say, oh, why don't they use contraception?
Ignorance, though, isn't it?
Either they don't know about it, you know, they still have a belief, or some of them, you know, still believe if they jump up and down after sex, they won't get pregnant. If they put their foot in a bucket of water, they won't get pregnant. And
such a protected bubble in more economically developed countries, because I don't want to say East or West or third world, first world anymore, because it's not. But that we're in such a bubble with more economically developed countries, in that we just assume we have rights to education, we have rights to, you know, we can buy contraception, we have basic human rights, and that's not the case everywhere. And we have to look beyond what our own perception is and see how other people really live in the world, I think.
That's it. And, you know, now that some of these women have had the education, it's not just the women, they educate the families, because remember that in this country, the women are still the chattels of the men. Mm-hmm. And they need permission. So you can't give a woman a contraceptive implant without her husband's approval.
And this is why going in with something like condoms would definitely not work.
Yeah. So you have to educate the family, get them on board.
Community education, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And most of the men are, once they realise what it means financially and how it means that they can afford to feed their children, it means that they might be able to send a couple of kids to school or whatever, then, you know, they're on side with it. Not all of them, but the majority are. So, you know, it's not about just supporting one woman, it's about supporting her husband, and any children they already have.
The extended family, then therefore plus the community.
Exactly. Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah.
Thinking of all the women that you support, so obviously you support these ladies and you support our community a lot. So I just want to wrap this up with one last question for you. Looking into the future, what are your next goals? What are you doing? How are you going to be supporting our community over the next year?
So what am I going to be doing? So some things I can't tell you about yet. But yeah, I am always looking at ways of getting our community together. And I think particularly after the pandemic, then it's important to try and get people out dancing live again. And I think there's been a lot of people dancing solo. And we need to grow that community and get people involved again. So one of my ambitions this year, because I haven't started live classes again, I have been doing live workshops, and I have got some workshops coming up this year, one of which you might just know about.
Where's that, Kelly?
Oh, it's in Linz in Austria, and it's organized by yours truly and her co-partner Tina.
Yeah. And Elizabeth, I have to mention Elizabeth as well.
Okay. So yes, I will be coming there, and I will be
see her.
I am also looking very much forward to doing something with Miriam again in Germany. And the idea for that one will be bringing our community, particularly, I have a lot of online German students, so it would be wonderful if we could bring those together in real life. We have another Serendipity, of course. We have something called TribaLX Sleepover, which is Asif's event. I learned drumming with Asif, and he has an annual event.
Fab.
So, yeah, it's similar to Serendipity, except there's a lot of drumming, and I'll be teaching at that and drumming. And then one of the specials this year is actually, if anybody who's just caught up with FCBDU's recent interview with one of my favourite ladies, Nawara of Morocco. So I've known Nawara for a number of years, and I've been to one of her events teaching in Morocco before, and she's invited me to go back again this year. So I will be going to Morocco. So if anybody wants to come to Morocco, and she's got some exciting things which I'm really, really looking forward to, and that's the opportunity to actually meet and learn more about the Amazigh women and learn about their dancing. So Nawara, she's one of my favourite performers to watch. She's just got this energy about her, and she makes me laugh. You know, she really knows how to work an audience, and
check out her interview on FCBDU. I'm just going to say it again.
But she's such a
Kelly's classes.
Yeah, so my online classes will continue. I totally will be continuing those, because a lot of my students have said, you know, now that everybody's starting to go back to live classes, will you keep going? And I said, as long as you want me to teach online, I will carry on. So yes, I do level 1, level 2 and level 3 classes all online, and we have a great community in there, some really, really lovely people. So come and join us.
Well, with that, thank you so much. Come and see Kelly and Liz with us, obviously. I would love, and dance live with her. Oh God, that would be amazing. I can't wait for that. I can't wait to drink gin and tonic with you.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh, God. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute
pleasure
chatting to you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and
you're welcome. Okay. I think we're done. Is that a wrap?
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
To say, if you liked this, Tina will kill me if I don't. If you liked this, give it a thumbs up. Do all the subscribe-y thingy things. You know, that was really well said, wasn't it? Give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment anything that you would like to say underneath.
If you've got any questions,
any questions, we love, you know, to like see comments and read comments, and yeah, I think that's it. I think we're done. Okay, now it's a wrap.
Okay, it's a wrap.